The F1 grid. Everybody wants access, very few get it. I'll tell you more about it in just a moment. The F1 grid. It's an exciting place to be on race day, but who gets access? Well, there are obviously the teams that get a certain number of passes per team. There's media, photographers, cameramen, presenters, there's FIA personnel and a whole lot of FIA guests. Well, let me tell you how it works on race day. About 45 minutes before the start of the race, the cars are in the garages, the drivers get to their cars, get into their cars, put their helmets on, and then they leave their garages as they would normally do for a session. Now, this is a rare opportunity for me to shoot from the pit wall. See, normally during all of the sessions, there are only a handful of photographers allowed to shoot from the other side of pit lane. So we get to stand, shoot the cars with the garages behind. And as you can see, there are a lot of people who make their way along the pit lane, ready to cross across into the track. So we get these rare shots where the cars are very close to people. Now, with the track being occupied by team personnel setting up for the cars to come onto the grid, those cars obviously can't drive down the pit straight, so they have to come through the pit lane, and that's how we get these shots of all the people behind them. But it does give me an opportunity in somewhere like China, where the only place to get a shot with these buildings behind, and that's a pretty rare shot in China, is to be on the pit wall. So this is a great opportunity. We get probably 10 minutes of the cars coming back through pit lane to shoot that particular shot. At the other end of pit lane, they'll be queuing up to do starts and warming up their tyres. Who gets onto pit lane? I've already mentioned the sort of people, and if you haven't got the right sticker on your badge or the right badge, this fella will not let you onto the track. If you're a celebrity though, someone like a Christina Aguilera, maybe even a Will Smith, or perhaps a mega celebrity like David Beckham or Catherine Zeta-Jones, you're going to have access. So you're going to be able to get onto that grid and see the goings on, because you're probably an invited guest of one of the teams or the FIA, or you're perhaps the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. So this is what it looks like before the cars and all the throng of people come out onto pit straight. All the teams have roped off their particular spots for their drivers, and they await the cars, and then everybody gets on there, team personnel, and it becomes almost a rugby scrum. So at that point, I normally head up to the back of the grid. Now that gives me an opportunity to shoot the cars as they come towards me. And I love these shots because it looks like it's in the middle of a race, especially when you get other cars behind. And this was in the wet in Germany, and I'll go to this particular photo because I think it's one of the best I've ever shot. People think, that's in the middle of the race. How have you got that? Well, I am standing in the middle of the track, but it's not in the middle of the race. It's the grid prior. So there's no other people around, which is good. I get them coming towards me, and it's a really rare opportunity for me to stand next to the guy holding the jack, because I know I'm not going to get cleaned up if I stand next to him, and shoot this rather amazing angle. Now, once the cars have stopped, they're put up onto little trolleys, and then they're wheeled, as you can see, off the ground. Their wheels aren't touching the ground, to their particular spot along the pit straight. And there'll be 5 or 6 guys pushing those drivers in their cars down to their starting spot. And then the drivers will alight from their cars. Daniel gets out in a rather interesting fashion. Here's Lando Norris extracting himself. Lewis will often have a little step for him to step down on. And always he's got Angela Cullen there waiting with a drink and a hat. And he's very deliberate and very quick in getting off that balaclava and getting the hat on. Very rarely do you get him without a hat or a balaclava or a helmet on race day. Lando Norris will head across to his trainer. He'll unsuit there. Daniel will stand with Michael Italiano. They'll have a quick chat. Michael will take Daniel's kit. Here's Lando again with his people. Seb will always have a chat with his engineer. This is Riccardo Adami. Pierre will have a chat as well. Charles goes and sits on the grass or on the edge of the track where he just sits and thinks. And I really quite love this opportunity to shoot Charles here. Now, when you see a shot of him, oftentimes he's in fact, I haven't even got one here, but you'll see him isolated. But when you look at the wider shot, there are 30 to 40 people sometimes. As you can see on the right here, you've got a photographer standing above him, and then we're all at varying different levels shooting up or down. There's TV crews, photographers, and then there's Ferrari people as well. Now, once those guys have unsuited, it's a great opportunity to get shots like this of helmets just sitting there. I've even taken photos of drivers' earpieces, and this is with a rather remarkable lens, a Laowa 24mm close-up. It allows me to get probably 2 centimetres away from Hulkenberg's earpiece there and show you in detail what he sticks in his ear to listen to the commentary from his engineers. That's the point at which TV goes crazy. They're looking for drivers, they are looking for team personnel to chat to. At that point, the drivers will often escape the grid, sometimes going over the fence, which is obviously a lot quicker way to get back to their garage, or head to the toilet, whichever the case may be. Now, while the drivers are heading back to their garages, the grid kids are getting ready to come out and take their position on the grid, on the red carpet for the national anthem, being led out by Alice right here. The TV reporters are preparing for those drivers to return, and often they'll be nabbed for a quick 10-second interview as they come along the pit lane. But that shot we get along pit lane with very few other people around is very valuable to us, and especially when it's in nice light. You don't often see Kimi there with few people around. Here's Daniel returning, Pierre Gasly with his Blommenberger headphones on. And if you're running late, as often they do, Pierre will run, Max will be sprinting. Almost always Sebastian Vettel is running. And of course Lewis will be on his scooter, doing it in about a third of the time. But while the drivers are back in the garage, FIA staff are out on the red carpet positioning these small boards with each driver's name on it. The front one, the furthest away from the lens here, is for the grid kid to know where they're supposed to stand, and obviously the back one is for the driver. So you've got Lewis Hamilton in the British flag, Max Verstappen there. And then it's time for the drivers to come out and take their position. Often, Kimi Räikkönen will be one of the first out there, and he just stands quietly, looks straight ahead, is not distracted in any way. These two often have a little pre-race conference. Lando and Carlos talk strategy here, and once again here, having a laugh well prior to the start of the race. And then you get occasionally characters like Nico, who in this instance ambushed Carlos Sainz with a sack whack in front of an amused Lando Norris in the background. They are characters. So the youngsters stand in the front, drivers stand behind, everyone takes their hat off for the national anthem, and at that point it's a great opportunity to get some close-up shots that perhaps we wouldn't normally get a chance to, because we get to stand the row behind the drivers. And whilst there are security people in between, you can normally fit in between them and take some interesting shots. And of course in wet weather, the drivers wear these booties over the top of their shoes. Then it's a matter of standing still, and occasionally there are flyovers by aircraft. In this case that's an Emirates plane, or in this case in Britain lots of different planes, or this shot taken here in Italy with the Italian colours of the flag emanating from the back of these aircraft. After that, after the national anthem's been sung, the drivers turn around and leave, and almost certainly Daniel Ricciardo will be the last to leave. He often goes into this pose, picks some music, listening to it through his headphones, and then he walks back through the crowd to his car. Once Daniel's left the red carpet, that's normally my signal to head up to the first corner and take a position. And while I'm doing that, the mechanics are then moving most of their stuff off the track, getting ready for the formation lap. As you can see, all the mechanics left and right here. Cars have the track to themselves. They take off on their formation lap, and everybody sprints across to get through that one entry. And if you have a look at this, you can see all of those team members sprinting back down to their particular garage so that they're ready when the cars come back in 3 or 4 minutes and form up on the grid, ready to head off on lap number 1 of whatever Grand Prix you're looking at. So there's some information that hopefully opened your eyes as to what goes on the F1 grid on a race day. It's an exciting place to be. I love the thrill of it. I love the fast-paced action, the fact that you've got so many photo opportunities to take in such a short amount of time. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future YouTube videos. Always love to see your comments. You can own any of my images at prostarpics.com. My blogs and podcasts, you'll find them at kimellman.com, and pictures live from the track on Instagram at Kim Ellman. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate.